What's happening, everybody? I'm Steve, and welcome back to Junk Drummer TV. Today, we lost a titan of the drumming community, and even more so, the drum education community, with the loss of Dom Famularo. If you are a casual music fan, you probably don't know him, unfortunately. But if you are a drummer, and even more so, a drum educator, you know this man. He was a titan of the drumming community, a true legend. I met him. I spent a couple days with him. We'll get into that today. He was your favorite drummer's drum teacher. That's how I talk about him to my students. Chad Smith, of course, very famously studied with him, and lots of drummers made that pilgrimage to Dom's studio. I think it was in upstate New York, to study at the feet of a true master. I'm not completely aware of his playing career. It seems like he played with like B.B. King and like Maynard Ferguson, but don't quote me on that. He was someone who was not famous for the records he made and the live performances he did with bands. He was someone who was famous and beloved for furthering the advancement of the drum set. And anyone who met him was completely affected in the most positive ways. I myself included, because I spent 2 days with Dom Famularo. Here's my story with him, and that's the thumbnail that you see. He came to my small little Appalachian city to do a day of percussion, and I was the drum teacher at the music store that sponsored the event, and the owner of that store said, will you go pick Dom up from the airport and basically be his concierge for the 2 days he was going to be in town. And I knew of him through Modern Drummer magazine. This was before YouTube. This is back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I picked up the most positive, influential drum teacher I have ever met. He was so happy to meet a complete stranger from like some bumpkin state in some bumpkin city. And it was 2 days of complete enthusiastic joy to be around that guy. He just loved being around drummers. He loved talking drums. He loved talking drum books. He did a drum clinic for all the drum teachers in my area. It was only like 4 or 5 of us. I knew them all. One of them was Matt Wolf, the drummer from Byzantine. I've done a video about him. Please go check that out. He's unfortunately gone too. And this guy sat in the showroom of our little drum business and gave some of the best advice I've ever heard when it came to teaching students and an overall way of conducting yourself as a drum teacher. And that was got to be maybe over, like, it's close to 20 years. It is 20 years ago. I know it is now. And the things that he told us, I think about every day. And that story, I am sure, plays out all over this country and all over the world. This was the first drum clinician who did a drum clinic, like Western drum clinician who did a drum clinic in China. You know, he was a long time endorser of Mapex. I think he was with Sabian. I can't remember, but he did that the first day, and of course, I took him to his hotel room, and he never turned off. I was like, surely this unbridled enthusiasm has got to be a work. And it wasn't, because he was always like that. He was so fucking positive. And I'm talking like this about a man who I met for 2 days. He's affected me so much, and he's affected every drum teacher worth their salt thinks about how they can do their job as well as Don Famularo. Then the next day came, and we had a day of percussion. We did clinics. I did a clinic. Matt Wolf did a clinic. And then at the very end, and if I can find this picture, I'm going to put it right here. We 4 drummers, a 4th guy that was one of the other drum teachers around. He was very salty about not being on the day of percussion. We 4 got together on stage and we jammed. And it was, like, I'm going to say that word a lot, joy. It was so fucking joyful. We were just 3, well, not Matt Wolf, because he was semi-famous. We were just 2 plus Matt Wolf, local yokels. I hadn't done much in the music industry at that point. I hadn't toured yet. I hadn't recorded a whole lot of records. I was still kind of new in the business, but I had been teaching drums. And I'll never forget this. This will sound like I'm putting myself over, but I'm not. The first guy that started out the drum jam just started blowing a bunch of chops. And this guy came headhunting for Dom Famularo. I know what he was doing. And then Matt played his thing, and then it came to me, and then Dom, was going to be last. And I just laid down a groove. I was like, I don't want to cut people's heads off. I want to play music with these guys. And I just laid down a groove, and I remember this like yesterday. He jumped up from behind his drum set and did some celebration that like someone just played a groove and we were going to play together and not play at each other. And that moment right there, I have kept that with me forever, because I thought, if someone as great as him would prefer to play with musicians and not at musicians, I should be like that all the time. If you don't know Dom Famularo, I implore you to go on YouTube and search that guy and just listen to his words of wisdom. He wanted everybody to be as good as Neil Peart. That's the best way I can put it. Dom Famularo spent his whole life trying to help others become the best that they can be. And I know his family's sad, and I know all of his friends are sad. Shout out Tim Connolly. He has a channel. You need to go check that out. I'm pretty sure he'll probably do a video as well. He was personal friends with that guy, and I talked to him today, and he was devastated. And that's the kind of effect that we want to have on people. I think when we're operating at our highest level, we want to be a positive influence, and we want to leave a little good and leave a little light in what can sometimes be a very dark day. And Dom Famularo was like the power of 1,000 suns worth of light that he shined upon all of us drummers. So if you know him, I'm really sorry. It must have been a privilege and a pleasure to know that man. And for those of us who were influenced by him, pay that shit forward. If you have a chance to influence and encourage and help someone as much as Dom did, like every day of his life, you got to do that. It's almost your responsibility to. And Dom did that in spades all across this world. What a beautiful legacy. What a sad day. But let's not be sad for the departed. Let's celebrate him. Go watch his videos. Go watch his playing. And go read what is going to be a cavalcade of beautiful, beautiful memorials for such a beautiful guy. Rest in power, Dom Famularo forever.